Hello everyone, and welcome to Dutch Greybeard. I bought my first two books by Guy Gavriel Kay at the end of June in 2023. Every time I hear of a new author that piques my interest, I put some of her or his books on my wish list at Amazon, just to remind myself to look into them more closely and maybe even buy their books. So Tigana and the Lions of Aurasan stood on my shelves for about a year when I got inspired by Josh from Red Fury Books. He is very enthusiastic about A Song for Our Born, and as I didn't have a copy of that book at the time, I instantly picked up this one. I'll put up an image of this book so I won't have to keep this into the air all the time. The book was published in 1990. The story is set on the Palm, a peninsula with 9 different countries or city-states. This world, in early Renaissance time, reminds me of the Italian Tuscany and at times also of the Languedoc in the south of France. There are 2 moons and 3 gods, the triad or triad. The gods are Adoan and Eana. They are brother and sister, and from their incestuous relation, Morian is born. The Palm was conquered 20 years ago by 2 different tyrants who are sorcerers. Stefan, the son of one of the tyrants, Brandon of Igrath, was killed by the leader of one of the defending city-states back then. Stricken with grief and anger, Brandon punished this state and its inhabitants in a mercilessly cruel way and laid a curse on that province. We follow a group of characters who try to undo this wrong to their city and ultimately rid the Palm of 2 tyrants. One of the main characters, Devin, is present at the meeting that will turn out to be pivotal for the story. In later life, he often wonders what would have happened had all their briefly tangled fate lines run differently. It is something he realizes that he will never know. To him, these thoughts were a reminder of what it was to be mortal, and so doomed to tread one road only, and that one only once, until Morian called the soul away and Eana's lights were lost. We can never truly know the path we have not walked. Not only is this one of the most beautifully composed sentences in the English language, there also lies so much depth in it. This is what I enjoy most in books, the poetry and the profoundness of wisdom. Story, characters, world building and plot obviously are very important, but when the writing manages to enchant me, all the other stuff fades into the background. And here in this book, we have it all at an extremely high level. GGK's craftsmanship is amazing, simply amazing. The story. A land is conquered by tyrants and natives plot to retake it 20 years later, is perhaps the least astonishing element of this book. But the way it is told, with all its complexity, turns, twists, heartbreak, love, and so on, is simply masterful. The world building also is very well executed. Even though this is a fantasy world, I often got the feeling that I was visiting early Renaissance Italy, with quaint little towns such as San Gimignano or Siena. The way, for instance, the 3 gods are woven into this world makes it all the more real. When Taeri, a character who appears briefly in the story, lies dying, he whispers in his dying breath to his brother, "Farewell, brother. Morian grant our shadows know each other in her halls." And then the characters. Each and every one is multiple layered, believable, sophisticated, and realistically have many contradictory traits. I especially love how GGK has crafted the beautiful and enigmatic Dianora, one of the most conflicted characters in this book. Even one of the more flat characters in the book, Alberico of Barbadior, one of the tyrants, is real-life stuff. His adversary, Brandon, describes him very accurately. I hate everything he stands for. There's no passion in him, no love, no pride, only ambition. Nothing matters but that. Everything is a tool, an instrument. He only wants. Kay does not let the reader grope too long or too often for solid ground. He occasionally even repeats some of the lore or character connections so that the reader instantly knows his whereabouts at that point in the story. This is nowhere done too obviously or too often. For me, it was just the right amount of a helping hand. The fact that music plays an integral part in the story wins me over all the more. The whole troubadour kind of vibe here is delightful. There are many memorable moments in this book where music is important, but I will only name two of them. Devin is a singer by trade, and one night he sings a song about Ayana's making of the stars and committing the name of them to her memory. Devin sings the first verse of a song directly to a woman, but then, in fidelity to the song, he sent his vision inward to where his purest music was always found, and he looked at no one at all as he sang to Ayana herself, a hymn to names and the naming of things. The second instance is after the group has experienced a very grievous event and has to perform at the inn of Solingi. They're able to do just one song, the Lament for Adaun. Men said after that there had never been such a stillness, such rapt attention among the tables in Solingis. No one moved, no one made a sound. There were pipes playing and a solitary voice singing the oldest song of mourning in the palm. Bard listened to Alasan and Devin, and he felt as if his soul was leaving him to fly through darkness, searching for peace and a home. There are too many examples of the sheer mastership of Kay as a writer. I'll restrict myself to just a few more. The dying scene of one of the characters is one of the most beautiful I've ever read. In his dying moments, he says farewell to someone, only he is not sure if he actually manages to form the words and speak it. A darkness, more encompassing than he had ever known, came down over him like a blanket or a mantle, and the difference between the spoken word and the unspoken ceased to matter anymore. The group of characters plot their plan to overthrow the tyrants. Some of them have been working on this for almost 20 years. During a ride, two of them toss ideas back and forth, turning the rough coals of a concept into the diamonds of polished plans. I wish I could write like that. When a beautiful woman addresses Devin, his throat dries up. Her glance did disruptive things to the orderly flow of messages from brain to tongue. This meeting indeed turns into a very tenderly written erotic encounter. During their intercourse, the two of them surged together through the arc of an act that strove to cast the world away, as far away as it could be hurled. This is writing at the highest of the highest levels, and yes, erotic scenes can be beautiful. Further in the book, two different lovers lay down together, and we see how subtly Kay weaves the triad of the gods into the narrative here. She looked up for a moment past his shoulder at all the circling luminous stars, and it came to her as a wonderful and joyous thought that every single diamond of those stars would have a name. When someone cannot voice what it is that makes him uneasy, there was something gnawing away like a rat in darkness at the unlit corners of his thoughts. The last quote is one of the most profound declarations of love I've ever come across in a book. You are the harbour of my soul's journeying. There is, of course, much more to say about this book, but this will have to do for now. Tigana is one of my final reads of 2023, and it is also my favourite book of this year. A very close second is The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, but this book by Guy Gavriel Kay moved me even more. I gave this book 99 points out of 100. It is near to perfect. When I was halfway through this book, I was confident enough, so I bought 9 more books by this great author. If you are sensitive to beautiful prose, a complex story in an epic fantasy world that reads easily, you should definitely check out Tigana. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until we meet again at Dutch Greybeard.